You may or may not know that I love Silver Surfer statues. I have over a dozen and many more coming. Well, eventually I'm going to run out of room, but I still want more and more Silver Surfer statues. So this custom that we're going to look at today kind of helps me with this problem because it's kind of 3-in-1. Check this out. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. My name is Mr. X. Today we are looking at Norrin Radd, the Silver Surfer. So this is a custom 1/4 scale statue. That means it was a private unlicensed commission. We're going to do a review on the statue. You saw that it has a lot of cool display options and it's done some stuff that no other Silver Surfer statue has done, which is pretty incredible because it's very hard to come up with a new concept. Now, as a spoiler, while this is not my favorite Silver Surfer statue, it's probably near the top. I am really impressed with this piece. It is absolutely awesome. So, I've always been a big fan of Silver Surfer because he's everything I'm not. He's very humble, he's all about doing the right thing, he's very powerful, where I'm very selfish and weak. So maybe that's why I kind of idolize him. He is a little bit boring though, and that's not me. I'm entertaining as fuck. I mean, let's face it, you wouldn't be watching this if I was not. But just growing up, he was my favorite character. He continues to be my favorite character as well. I love some of the new stuff that Donny Cates is doing with him. I have some incoming Silver Surfers very soon that are actually going to be the Fallen, the black one. But this is your traditional, kind of modern Silver Surfer. We're going to talk about that because there were some different options, not only that I can display with him, but that you could have purchased as well. Now, these are long sold out. I can't give you any information on them other than everything we're going to talk about in the review. So let's kick it off with concept. Now, it's rare that a statue has so many different switch outs, it can completely change up the concept. Now, while I wouldn't say the switch outs completely change the concept, it does vary it up quite a bit. So first we're going to look at this though. So you have Silver Surfer assumably on another planet because of the rock molten base on the bottom. And all over the place, at least the way I have it displayed, you see this purple swirl. Now this could be a number of different things. It could be insinuating the power cosmic. That's kind of his secret power, kind of like an energy source that he uses not only to propel himself through space at the speed of light, but also to defeat enemies. And in this particular display right here, he has his board hovering. This has never been done before. Very cool. We'll talk more about it during design, but I think it's an awesome part of the concept. You see some of the power cosmic or maybe a black hole behind him. And he is standing there, very humble but very powerful. He's ready to kick ass. He's not scared of much. And I think he's represented really well in this physique. We'll do some close-up video for paint and sculpt. Talk more about his anatomy and the actual paint color then. But here, how I have him displayed, he has a little bit of power cosmic coming out of his right hand. And again, just very serious, very formidable. He's very imposing, but not at the same time, which is what I think really tells a great story about this particular character. Very stern expression on his face that kind of goes along with everything we're talking about. So I think the concept is absolutely fantastic. And like I said, what's even cooler is you can switch it up, which we'll talk about in design in a minute or so. But I do give this concept a 5 out of 5. It is really impressive, really well done. Now, with design, we'll show all the different switch out options and I'll actually show me assembling them. So you'll get a little bit of a taste. One box. Now, it had an interesting inner box, a little bit of an art box. There was actually metal tips on the corners, which I've never seen before. But what I have seen is the regular black foam and straps. There were 2 layers. The first layer here actually had both of the boards you're going to see for the different switch out options and a few of the other pieces. And then the second layer had the Surfer and some of the parts for the base. as I said, so many different switch out options, and I posted all of them on the Extreme Channel social media. So if you want to see what they look like in more detail, check that out. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. The link for those is in the description below. First is there were two different portraits available. Now you can't switch them out. You either buy one or the other. So here is kind of a modern one. That's the one I got, and we'll talk more about this in value. And then you had a classic one. I preferred the classic, but I didn't get on board quick enough. Now, his right arm is permanently attached, and you can display it with the Power Cosmic, as you see right here, or without. His left arm, you have two different options. One where he's holding his fist down. And that does leave a little bit of a seam line, but nothing I can't get over. Or you can have him holding his board. Now this is where it gets a little bit complicated. Obviously, you would not have this board displayed right here. So you could switch it out with this Power Cosmic. Or, if you don't like the Power Cosmic black hole type stuff, you can replace it with a rock, where it blends into the base pretty well. And they look pretty good. Here's a close-up. So you can have him with no board, no Power Cosmic. You can have him holding his board. You can have the board to the side. And obviously you can mix and match as well. You can have some Power Cosmic, some rocks. So just endless display possibilities. I think that is absolutely fantastic. Everything fit together really well. This right here is a little bit loose on the back, but nothing I'm worried about. We have a little bit of a seam line on the left arm, which is almost a necessity. My one complaint about the design is I wish I had two of these so I could display them completely different. But I think I have to give the design a 5 out of 5. It's unique, it's different. One thing people might argue is this board is a little bit small for him. But I don't think that takes points away, it's just something to notice. And you'll probably notice it more when he's next to other Silver Surfer statues. So now we're going to go through paint and sculpt, and Silver Surfer's kind of a tough beast, especially when you have one color over the body, and I have some bright lights shining on it, so that'll make a little bit of a difference as well. But kind of a spoiler, it's really good. Starting with the base here, it's done really well, and it's probably one of the weaker parts, ironically, even though it's done really well. But I think they did a great job giving it almost, feels like a moon or another planet. The different subtle textures with the divots, and almost like craters that are in there, I think looks fantastic. And I like the coloring they chose too. It's a good contrast on the rest of the statue, kind of offers a dark, but looks really good. Now, I wish that they didn't, I think these originally were pretty translucent, but the spray they had on them kind of covered up some of that. I think that's a little bit of a miss. I would have rather had them more translucent without the star paint or the extra blue and purple on there. But it still looks really good, how it's kind of wrapped around and waved around. And they even added like some rocks to kind of give the insinuation of a floating effect, which is nice. And again, if you don't like these, other than if you want the board to float, you can always remove them. So I think while that's not a paint and sculpt thing, I think it's a great option. Check out his board here. So typically, a lot of the boards I've seen only have 3 lines down the middle. This has 5. I'd have to check the comic accuracy of that, even though I love Silver Surfer. I don't know how many lines are in the middle of his board. But very smooth on the paint. You'll see some speckling in there. I think that's kind of intentional. And it is a different silver than him. Not by much, but by a little bit, which I really like. Now, when we talk about silver, actually, in most of the comics, he actually appears white. And that's due to the printing. And even nowadays, well, nowadays he's black, but the silver on this looks phenomenal in my opinion. And just like the board, there's a lot of speckling in there, but I really like it. To me, this is the kind of silver I want, and I like that so many of my different Silver Surfer statues have different variances of the silver. And this is, again, I'd say completely unique. It's not night and day unique, but it is different from the ones I have. Now, regarding his anatomy, I think they did a very nice job. It's a little too tweaked for me, a little bit. And again, he wasn't like that in the comics, but when you're trying to take a 2-dimensional page from 1960, or I think 61 or 62, and put it into a 3-dimensional figure, 60 years later, you're definitely gonna have to interpret a little bit of stuff. So especially here on his abdomen, I think that's a little bit too tweaked. I think the arms look good. I think the legs are fantastic. And then the back muscles are a little bit too tweaked. There's America's ass right there. But overall, very good anatomy. And here's the more modern portrait. They did give him wide eyes. It's always a little different which direction they go. Looks good. I'd say the portrait is, I don't want to say my least favorite part, but it probably is on this statue. Thankfully, you're not really immediately drawn to that. You're drawn to everything else that's going on. I think some of my other Silver Surfers have a more appealing portrait. But yeah, and the more I look at, especially like the paint, I'm glad it's not chromed anymore. And this might be the Alkyd chrome, but where it's more of a silver paint. But looks absolutely fantastic. They really killed it on both the paint and sculpt. All right, so paint, like I said, I love what they did on Silver Surfer. To me, it is absolutely perfect. There's a few speckles on there, but I'm okay with that. The base, and I wish there was more translucency. Like I said, if you shine the lights, you see it. But I think the paint is a very strong 4 out of 5. One could argue it is a 5 out of 5 for sure. Sculpt, phenomenally done. I love every part of the sculpt. A little bit too buff for me, but just a tiny bit, probably by like 5%. But I still think it deserves a 5 out of 5 on the sculpt. Incredibly impressive, really well done. All right, so they made 90 of these. 60 are the modern portrait right here that I have. And then the other 30 were the classic portrait. They retailed for $999. Not $1,000. $1,000 would be too much, but $999, and they made 90 of them. Shipping was fairly cheap. It was only a couple $100. And what's interesting, too, if you're in the statue collecting world, you know that economy shipping or shipping by boat was taking 3 to 6 months. Lately, the past 2 months, it's taken about 30 to 40 days. So that is fantastic. Definitely worth it. So you're about $1,200 all into this piece. It's a lot for a 1/4 scale, but you have all the different switch out options and everything is done incredibly, so I think it's priced well. I think it's a 4 out of 5. I think this is going to be highly sought after. I definitely think this takes one of the top 5 Silver Surfer statues out there, and there's about 20 or 30 to choose from. So definitely in the top 5 for me, probably in my top 3 of the ones I own, but very excited to have it. The value is very strong. And of course, he does have the X factor. That's our final score. It's not a cumulative score, but it's how much do you like it? I think he's absolutely badass. I do see a little bit in the pose of the Sideshow maquette that they recently came out with. But I can get past that. I think everything else is completely different. And I don't think it was directly derived from that at all. It's just kind of coincidental. So I'm absolutely a big fan. This is a phenomenal Silver Surfer statue. Definitely one I will keep for a very long time. Of course, I rarely sell Silver Surfer statues. But what do you guys think? Is this one of the best? And again, I think there's some other contenders. The Black Hole, the original Bushy, they do beat it. But throw that down in the comments below because I read every single comment and you may win a statue. We will be giving all of these statues away plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Please drop a like. If you didn't like me and you like the statue, hit a like. It's free. Just takes you a minute to do. Also, if you haven't subscribed, you like stuff like this, hit that subscribe button. 40% of you haven't. I really appreciate you guys. I say it every time, but I really do mean that. In the meantime, till 2 days from now, and you can watch some more stuff, check out these videos.